live from KSAT 12. The 6 o'clock news starts right now.
Good evening and happy Halloween to all of you. I'm sure that some of you are planning to leave your house at some point tonight with the kiddos and go trick-or-treating.
I think we're about a half hour away from the ideal time to go outside. What will the weather be like for them as they go out into the night, Mia Montgomery?
Well, the big thing that they need to know is that it's going to be warm and it is going to be muggy out there. In fact, today we hit 90 degrees in San Antonio, breaking the existing previous record high of 89 for the day, making it the hottest Halloween that we've seen on record, with those records dating back to the 1880s. Now, right now, we're still in the mid to upper 80s here in Bexar County, a little bit quote unquote cooler up into the hill country, low 80s for places like Bernie, Comfort, and Kerrville, still sitting in the low 90s for places like Floresville as well as Pleasanton. We had a weak frontal boundary that has cleared Bexar County. You wouldn't know it though, just based off of those temperatures. We've been monitoring for the very, very isolated potential of a stray shower. The vast majority of our region is quiet. Just a lone shower out there in far eastern DeWitt County, just to the east of Cuero. We'll keep a 10% chance in the forecast this evening. Even that may be a little bit generous, especially here in San Antonio. The vast majority of us staying dry, with temperatures falling through the low 80s by 7 p.m. and eventually into the 70s later on tonight. In the meantime, let's head out there with live cam again. We've seen plenty of sunshine take back over, which is what's helped those temperatures warm back up. Looks like we have a little friend out there for this spooky Halloween evening as well. We are expecting a more noticeable cold front to move in early next week, bringing some fall-like temperatures back. We'll talk about those details coming up in just a few.
All right, thank you. And now we're going to pivot on over to breaking news in downtown San Antonio that we want to tell you about right now.
Our John Paul Barajas is there right now, and we were told, JP, this might involve the Riverwalk and possibly a suspect who took off from the courthouse earlier today.
So we're off South St. Mary's and West Market Street, where BCSO deputies just apprehended a suspect who fled from the courthouse. He had just been sentenced for attempted capital murder. He was in cuffs, and then he took off heading towards the Riverwalk, which is right behind me. You can also see the old courthouse just in the distance and the other courthouse very nearby. So he didn't get very far. We know he took off at about 5:30. That's when we were told by BCSO's spokesperson that they had a suspect that had fled the courthouse at 6 o'clock. Before 6 o'clock, he was in custody on this street. Right now, all the officers have taken off. But when we were out here, there was at least 7 to 8 different deputies units here with lights on, as well as a wagon to take away that suspect. That is all the information we know at this time. His name is Antonio Flores. Again, he was sentenced to attempted capital murder. Back to you guys.
All right, JP, thank you for that. In other news now, we are reaching new heights when it comes to the number of people who are voting early in Bexar County. Nearly 470,000 of you in Bexar County have taken part in that process so far. If you're registered, though, but you haven't voted early yet and you want to, tomorrow is your last day. Katrina Weber went to the polls herself to talk to the people who've been in line.
I'm 76. I voted in those days since I was 21.
So that's 55 years of voting. My goodness, you've seen a lot.
Neat. Yes, I have seen. I've seen Nixon. I remember when Kennedy was assassinated.
What did you think of voting? This was your first time, you said?
Yes. So I thought it was really easy. The employees were like super great and they helped me out.
My grandfather lived to be 96 years old, and again, the right to vote was one of the things he worked for when he was younger. I had myself, my mother, and my aunt. Make sure that we all come out together, solidarity, and vote together.
We had our Halloween costume contest and kind of group party this morning, and we ended it by asking the group if there was anybody who hadn't voted yet. Let's go ahead and load up vehicles and head on over.
I wanted to make sure that I got my vote in before it got busy.
Did that surprise you to see so many people out?
Yes, ma'am. It has, and to hear the numbers daily, yes, it's great to hear that San Antonio is coming out to vote more and more.
We live in a democracy. We're lucky. It's our right and our duty.
If you haven't cast your ballot yet, you have until 8 o'clock tomorrow night. You can check our website, KSAT.com, for locations. Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
So here's something else. KSAT has been tracking the slowest and the fastest polling places since early voting began last week. And here's where things stand right now. The Encino Branch Library, Northwest Vista College, and Brock Hollow Branch Library. Those have been the three busiest polling places so far. And if you're trying to save time and not spend a lot of time in line, those less busier polling centers could be the way to go. You see them right there. Texas A&M San Antonio, Southside ISD's Administrative Building, and Somerset City Hall. Those are the three least busiest polling centers. If you're still trying to get out to vote tonight, you have 2 more hours to do that. If you do plan on hopping in line to vote tonight, and you also want to go to a Halloween party, we called the Bexar County Elections Office, and they answered, and they're saying that you are, in fact, allowed to wear a costume to the polls, but you do need to take off any masks that you want to wear, and also face paint, which could make it difficult for voting officials to verify your ID. So just remember to show up with some ID, like your driver's license, by 8 o'clock tonight, and then you'll be able to vote. You know, with so many more voting resources, we want to take care of you. The voting resources are live right now on our Vote 2024 webpage. Sample ballots, lists of polling places, other news stories are posted every single day. All of it's on the website. You scan that QR code to stay in the loop between now and Election Day.
And for the first time ever, not a single district court judge will face a Republican opponent in the election next week. Our Erica Hernandez talked to a political scientist about the changing dynamics of our region that led to this and what it means for the future of the Bexar County criminal justice system.
When you look at this election sample ballot, and you may think it's missing names, but for the first time ever, there is no Republican running for a district judge seat, the judges that handle felony and civil cases.
This is a blue of blue counties when it comes to judicial races.
UTSA's political science chair John Taylor says this blue wave trend started about 6 years ago and is happening in almost every large county in Texas.
This goes back to 2018 when the wipeout began in Bexar County, and it basically culminated in 2022 when essentially whatever Republican was left, other than those that are vacancies that were appointed by Governor Abbott.
In 2018, we saw 6 incumbent Republican judges lose their elections. Jumping ahead to 2022, we saw 4 district court judge seats and 2 county seats turn blue. Now in 2024, it doesn't look like any Republicans just want to run. But John Taylor says this is not a reflection of the entire state.
If you look at other state courts of appeals, and in particular the Court of Criminal Appeals and the state Supreme Court, those are heavily red. So it's kind of a weird situation that we're in here because we are a heavily blue area in what is technically a red state when it comes to the state judiciary.
Bexar and 31 other counties make up the 4th Court of Appeals. There's just 3 contested races in this district this election cycle. While those seats could change things up for the 4th Court of Appeals, Taylor believes the blue wave for district judges is not something that will go away in the future.
I don't see this trend changing anytime soon. It would, in fact, be, I think, a minor miracle for Republicans to compete, to show strong sense of competition in Bexar County right now.
Erica Hernandez, KSAT 12 News.
San Antonio's first female fire chief starts work Friday. San Antonio council members enthusiastically approved Valerie Frausto's appointment. The San Antonio native has spent the last 24 years in every division of the fire department except for arson. Frausto said the department is already exceptional and she wants to make it the absolute best.
I actually know that operationally we are sound. I think a lot of the improvements are procedural and communication and transparency. But aside from that, that's really going to be our focus, is communication.
Frausto's appointment wasn't always smooth. The former fire union president was arrested after he was accused of pretending to be an independent investigator and scare Frausto off from applying for the job. The new chief, though, said it never even crossed her mind.
So now let's stay when it comes to city council news. Leaders now are trying to change its smoke-free ordinance to include vapes and e-cigarettes. So data from the state government shows that vaping and e-cigarette use is much more popular in our area here in San Antonio. It's also become a go-to for Texans 18 and older. So now vaping and e-cigarettes are going to be banned in the same areas where you can't smoke. That includes places like restaurants, indoor venues, and other designated public places. So if you own a business and you would like a new sign warning against smoking or vaping, you can contact your city council rep. And that change that we're talking about is going to go into effect January 1st.
The horse-drawn carriages you see on the streets of downtown San Antonio have garnered the attention of City Council. If you remember, the city asked for input from residents about these carriages. 50,000 people had something to say, and the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee came up with a plan to phase out those carriages. Today, the entire council was briefed on that plan. There was no vote on any action today, but if passed, the phasing out process would take between 1 to 3 years to finish.
A $25,000 grant is going to help even more cats and dogs in San Antonio get spayed or neutered. The San Antonio Area Foundation is giving those funds to the Spay Neuter Network. That place opened up last year, and it's provided low cost and sometimes free spay and neuter surgeries to 14,000 animals since they opened. This is all part of an effort to stop pet overpopulation in our communities.
Taking a look outside at TransGuide, we are at Loop 410 and Blanco. Somewhat smooth going there. A little bit of a slowdown as people try and get home, hopefully get the kids ready to go out and trick or treat. The ideal time, we're told, to start trick or treating will be around 6:30 tonight. We'll be a little muggy from what we hear.
Yeah, you don't want to wait too long because then you get the bad candy.
Right.
The leftovers, the scraps. All right. So coming up, we want you to stay right where you are because this is a fun question. Do you get delight from a fright, or can you keep cool around ghouls? So many of us revel in the staples of spooky season, but there is an ideal fright. That's according to research. Find out why there's actually fun when it comes to fear. That's next on the news at 6. We know that history was made today as San Antonio welcomed a female as the new head of the San Antonio Fire Department. So as one woman is sworn in, another one in a powerful position is saying goodbye in our city. Tonight on the Night Beat, a look back at the career of Karen Falks with SAPD and how she's paving the way for future females. That and so much more tonight on the Night Beat. So yes, we're going back to the main topic of discussion, right? Halloween, the one day of the year when fear is actually celebrated. From trick-or-treating to haunted houses, also horror movies. There's shocks and surprises at every corner.
But when it comes to things that give us a fright, why do some enjoy getting spooked more than others? As Michael Yoshida reports, there could be benefits to getting booed.
People do many different things to get pleasure out of fear.
Investigating conditions under which fear can be fun, social, and in some cases meaningful.
It's sort of built in, it seems, to sort of human nature in a way.
Mark Anderson and Matthias Claesen run the Recreational Fear Lab at Aarhus University in Denmark. They say similar to the excitement a child may feel before opening a gift, anxiousness of the unknown, surprise, and eventual resolution is what can make things like haunted houses, scary movies, roller coasters, even hide and seek so enjoyable.
Humans tend to seek out things that surprise us in a variety of ways that drive up uncertainty, so that we can then reduce that uncertainty.
Experiencing horror can also provide people with a sense of accomplishment, feed a need for stimulation, and satisfy an appetite for the macabre.
We are very curious to know what's going to happen if one attends, let's say, Hannibal Lecter's dinner. Or what happens if the purge night is really on today?
Behavioral scientist Haiyang Yang says research suggests 3 psychological conditions allow someone to enjoy horror. 1, confidence in dealing with the situation. Even if I encounter zombies, I'll be fine because I know I can outrun them or fight them off. 2, understanding you're physically safe. Even if I see a monster on screen, it can't hurt me. 3, detachment. Realizing ghosts and killer clowns at a haunted house are just actors.
Possessing those frames help protect you from actual psychological harm.
Okay, so all that is stuff to consider. On a much happier note, children at North Central Baptist Hospital got to see some amazing superheroes today. Look at that one. Members of the San Antonio Police Department, Fire Department, and the SWAT team rappelled down the hospital, saying hi to children who were in their hospital rooms.
The superhero drop tradition began 10 years ago, and officers, nurses, and physicians look forward to the event every year.
We always joke around and say that this event's bigger than Christmas here because we have the superheroes here every single year.
They rappel from the roof of the Baptist Hospital here in a way to spread cheer to the children who are sick, and it's just a wonderful event.
This tradition began as a way to honor an SAPD officer's son who lost his battle with cancer.
Oh, I'm sure those kiddos love that. Also, you know who would love that too? Adam Caskey.
Yes, he would.
Love that. He would actually do that. All right, so we were talking about the perfect time to go out trick-or-treating. All right, let's go to our friend Mia Montgomery.
The closer to sunset, I think, the better, just because sunset's at 6:48 p.m., so it'll start to get dark by 7:15. And I say that because it's just been so warm and muggy here in San Antonio this afternoon and even kicking off this Halloween evening. Let's get you straight to those trick-or-treat weather headlines again. In terms of the rain chance that we've been monitoring as the possibility over the next couple of days, we're trending drier here in San Antonio and across the vast majority of South Central Texas. So what's going to affect everybody and what's going to be the big story this evening? Those warm and humid conditions, temperatures falling into the low 80s over the next hour or so and eventually into the upper 70s after sunset, which, as we just mentioned, is at about 6:48 p.m. in town. So it will be dark by 7:15. All right, so we had a weak frontal boundary that has pushed through a good chunk of South Central Texas. It's now cleared Bexar County. It's stalling, though, especially closer to the Pleasanton and Jourdanton area, so just south of Highway 90 and the I-10 corridor. A lot of this green that you're seeing on Authority radar, just radar noise, not actually rain. We are dry and quiet here in San Antonio. We've just been monitoring for a few very isolated showers that continue to fizzle across parts of DeWitt County, just to the east of Cuero, right along the DeWitt and Lavaca County line. We will keep that 10% chance in the forecast, mainly south and east of the Alamo City over the next couple of hours, but I don't anticipate rain being a real problem for those trick-or-treaters this evening. But as we head into the overnight hours, because of the moisture in place, I think it's possible we see a few isolated light showers develop, mainly south of San Antonio. Again, that could continue throughout the morning drive, a few sprinkles here and there, generally light though. Mostly cloudy skies will be the theme tomorrow. High temperatures in the low 80s after starting off in the muggy upper 60s and right near 70 degrees. Into our Friday afternoon after about 2 p.m. we'll increase the rain chance slightly to a 30% potential for a few more isolated showers to maybe even a heavy downpour that will be possible. That will continue into Friday evening as well before just isolated chances are in the forecast into the upcoming weekend. Notice though into early next week, especially by Monday, slightly better odds, a 30% potential. That's as we monitor our next cold front. This one does look to pack a little bit more of a punch when it comes to our temperatures. Notice here, moving into the Central Plains, this low pressure system, by Monday, it looks to drop that frontal boundary into South Central Texas by Monday evening. We could potentially catch the tail end of a broken line of showers and storms, that 30% shot on Monday, but the bigger impact that you likely will notice will be those temperatures that follow, with highs closer to where we should be for this time of year by Election Day and into the middle of next week, more to the tune of the 70s. Well, check out your mornings, could potentially bottom out in the 50s by Wednesday. So we'll have another full check at that forecast, plus the latest drought monitor that was released this morning. We'll show it to you coming up closer to 6:45.
We also want a full check of your costumes. Okay, so we have some pictures here that a lot of people have been sending through KSAT Connect, or I should say this is where you send your pictures through KSAT Connect. We want to see your Halloween photos on KSAT Connect. We're talking about costumes, pumpkins, decorations, all that good stuff. All welcome. Scan that QR code on your screen. That'll take you directly to KSAT Connect, and we'll share some of your costumes and Halloween pictures on the air.
Halloween themed shoes included?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Still haven't seen Mia's though.
I'm going to tweet it out right now.
Okay.
A picture of her Beetlejuice shoes.
So the Spurs had some issues last night, looked pretty lackluster, flat throughout that game, but a chance to kind of right the ship tonight.
Yep, that's a great way to sum it all up last night in OKC. Now they're in Utah, hoping to bounce back against the 0-4 Utah Jazz. We'll take a look at that matchup coming up. Plus, the Texans go into Week 9 at the Jets as 2.5-point underdogs, but Houston plans to keep doing what it's been doing, grinding out wins. Last Last night, the Spurs dropped to 1-3 with a dreadful performance in OKC, which saw San Antonio fall 105-93 to the 4-0 Thunder. And while 3 of the Spurs' 5 starters put up double figures, big man Victor Wembanyama provided just 6 points on a 1-for-5 shooting night. And veteran Harrison Barnes blames the players around Wemby for the 20-year-old's troubles on offense.
Ball movement and player movement. I think if we just drop the ball to Victor and just stand and look, it's going to be difficult on him, but I think any player, it's going to be hard to create offense. Obviously, he's at the top of the scouting report for their team. And as the rest, as a unit, we are not doing our job creating easy shots for him in those isolation situations, but anybody. So I think, like I said, it goes back to the player movement, the ball movement. We have a focus and we have things that we want to try to do, but at the end of the day, we have to manufacture that with a rhythm.
Well, the Spurs will look to right their wrongs on the tail end of their back-to-back tonight against the 0-4 Utah Jazz. Tip-off is at 8 o'clock. The AFC's second-place Houston Texans are nearing their Thursday night kickoff against the Jets in New York. It's a quick turnaround for the Texans, who held off the Colts on Sunday for their 6th win of the season. And going on to Week 9, Houston can honestly say it's pleased with where it's at. And the wins haven't come easy, but C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson Jr. on defense have found a way to win.
I'm excited about where our team is. To be sitting here right now, 6-2, we're excited about where we are. As you mentioned, a lot of ball ahead of us, we talked about starting fast, and we've started fast. Our team has found a way to win in different fashion, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, different areas of our team stepped up and made plays to help us win games. So I'm excited with where we are and excited with where we're going, and we continue to build the right way.
Well, tonight the Texans will have to make up for the absence of their 2 top receivers, Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs. Kickoff is at 7:15. Well, the Dallas Cowboys find themselves 1 game below 500 and at risk of missing the postseason after a Week 8 loss to the 49ers. This Sunday, Cowboys defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer will reunite with his former Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins when the Cowboys and Falcons square off. And when Dak Prescott was asked if this is a must-win, he said, yeah.
Is this a must-win?
Yeah. To me, every game is, but obviously, 3 and 4. As I've said, a lot of seasons left, but the first start to be able to say that confidently is getting back even, especially having a couple home ones after that.
After missing the postseason for the first time since 2016, San Antonio FC announced that it has mutually parted ways with head coach Alan Marcina. Marcina had plenty of success during his tenure in San Antonio, but recently has failed to find the spark that made the club league champions in 2022. Marcina leaves with an 81-42-42 record. So that coaching search will begin now.
All right. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. And we have Doc Talk up next after the break. Happy Thursday. We love when you guys send us questions, because every Thursday we take your questions, we bring in a doctor to answer them. And this week we are joined by Dr. Leah Lopez from University Health. Thank you for joining us.
Happy Halloween. I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, happy Halloween. Let's go to the viewer questions. John asked, I've been a smoker for about 30 years and want to quit smoking cigarettes. How can I get my lungs healthy again? I'm also active in keeping myself in shape and healthy other than smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, this is an important question. Unfortunately, we know that smoking is still the world's leading cause of preventable death. In fact, it accounts for about 7 million deaths worldwide, including almost 500,000 right here in the U.S. every year alone. And so it sounds like we are thinking about quitting. For some, this can be really challenging. So it's important to know that there are services and supports out there. Connect with your doctor to see about medication and therapy. These can be really helpful to support folks who are trying to quit. And then as soon as folks quit, they begin to see immediate benefits almost. After about 1 to 12 months, we should start to see the cough and shortness of breath get better, after about 1 to 2 years, our risk of heart attacks begins to plummet. After 3 to 5 years, our risk of heart disease begins to drop sharply. And about 5 to 15 years thereafter, our risk of certain cancers begins to drop sharply as well. So it's never too late to quit. It sounds like he's already taking steps to exercise. Maintaining a healthy weight can be helpful. And finally, check with your doctor to see if it's time to get your lung cancer screening as well.
Also, the other thing is that the city's health department, they also have treatment. I know some people don't have insurance and they need some help. Like, I don't know if it's oral medication that they take in order to just keep those nicotine cravings at bay. They offer that here in San Antonio. So just letting you know about that. All right. So now let's go to Lois, because this person is also asking, are there any treatments or exercises that significantly reduce sciatic pain?
So it sounds like we're dealing with what we call sciatica. Sciatica is when we've got some irritation to the sciatic nerve, which is the nerve that runs from our low back down our leg. And it usually is caused by issues with the bones or the muscles in our low back. It can be really painful. It can cause numbness or tingling and even weakness in that leg. One good first step is to just confirm that this is actually sciatica. There are other really serious conditions that we want to ensure aren't going on, things like infections and tumors. But let's say that this, in fact, is sciatica. Your doctor might consider starting with things like ibuprofen or Tylenol. If things continue to not get better over the coming weeks, they might suggest something like physical therapy. After about 3 to 6 weeks of physical therapy and things still aren't getting better, definitely check back with your doctor to start to think about other potential causes for your symptoms.
Another from the viewers, Day, asked, why was the age for the RSV shot changed?
It's an important question. And so over the summer, the recommendations for the RSV vaccine for older adults did change. And it was changed really to help us understand and bring more clarity to who should get the vaccine. If we recall last year, this was a shared decision between doctors and their patients about who should get it. And this year we know that if you're 75 years or older, or 60 to 74 years with certain conditions or live in a nursing home, you should get your RSV vaccine. Scientists looked at the data. They saw who was affected by RSV last year, how well did the vaccine work, to help inform these changes in this recommendation. Now, it's also important to know now's the perfect time to get your RSV vaccine, especially before winter. That's when peak RSV is expected.
Okay, so how long does it take for the immunization to kick in?
So, this is an important question. I do want to state that if you did get immunized last year, you don't necessarily have to get it this year. Check with your doctor, but you do want to give your body some time to build up the immunity after the shot.
Okay.
November is National Diabetes Month. What are some risks of developing diabetes, and what are some ways to prevent or manage diabetes?
So November is National Diabetes Month, and this is our opportunity to recognize that diabetes can be a life-changing condition. This is a condition where our blood sugar is higher than it should be and can cause life-changing vision changes, can affect our heart, our kidneys, and our nerves. It impacts about 40 million Americans. And so this month, let's focus on actions we can take to prevent diabetes conditions. One good thing to know is your risk. So if you're 35 years or older, if you have a family history, if you're pre-diabetic, or if you've got obesity or if you're overweight, you're at higher risk for developing diabetes. Second is know the ABCs of diabetes. A is the A1C. This is the test that doctors use to know your blood sugar levels. B is your blood pressure. C is your cholesterol. Connect with your doctor to know what your ABC goals should be. And lastly, work on implementing some healthy habits, working on planning and preparing your meals in advance, scheduling time to exercise, and prioritizing really high quality sleep.
Always good advice for everything, not just diabetes, right?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Dr. Lopez, for joining us today on the set. We always appreciate having you. And just a reminder that Doc Talk, it airs every Thursday on the news at 6:30, every Thursday except the ones where we have Know My Neighborhood. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back, my friends. 5 days to go in the race for the White House. Both presidential candidates are campaigning in the western battleground states, each holding rallies in Nevada and Arizona. ABC's Christian Cordero has the latest from Washington.
As the election enters its final few days, today, former President Trump is rallying in front of a new crowd, visiting Democratic stronghold New Mexico for the first time this cycle.
Look, I'm only here for one reason. They all said, don't come. I said, why? You can't win New Mexico. I said, look, your votes are rigged. We can win New Mexico.
He and Vice President Harris are on a battleground blitz, both campaigning today in Nevada and Arizona. In his closing message, Trump has largely focused on the issue of immigration, promising the largest mass deportation in American history. He's also trying to boost support among women voters, though some Republicans warn Trump's rhetoric could turn them away.
I'm president. I want to protect the women of our country, They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say, pay these guys a lot of money. Can you believe it? I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them.
The Harris campaign quickly turned that line into an ad.
Whether the women like it or not, whether the women like it or not, whether the women like it or not.
The VP then responding on her way to Phoenix.
It actually is, I think, very offensive to women in terms of not understanding their agency, their authority, their right and their ability to make decisions about their own lives, including their own bodies.
With 5 days to go, Harris is highlighting her priorities on the economy, reproductive rights, and, more recently, uniting the country. Harris insists she is the underdog.
Donald Trump's been running for the last decade. I've been in this race about 3.5 months, and the stakes are so high.
And today, Harris spoke out against House Speaker Mike Johnson's suggestion that Congress may try to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. Trump has tried distancing himself from that. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Taking a live look outside. Sunset, 6:48 p.m., so we are 7 minutes away from the kids heading out the door. And you said, it gets dark 7:15?
It'll be dark by 7:15.
Short window then.
Yeah, as the sun's starting to go down. Hey, if you're fixing to step out, last year at this time, you were grabbing the jacket. We had a high temperature of 61 degrees last year on Halloween. Today, it has been the opposite story. 90 degrees was our high temperature here in San Antonio, breaking the previous record high for the day of 89, which means 2024 are going down in the record books yet again for the hottest Halloween on record. Not needing the jackets again this evening. We'll get you another look at that trick-or-treat forecast after the break.
Day of the Dead is a merger of two traditions, Mexico's indigenous customs and Christianity.
But the only thing that has changed is that it's not anymore a pagan celebration. It is a Christian celebration together with the whole church celebrating All Souls Day.
This merger began when the first missionaries arrived after the Spanish conquest, and they needed a plan.
It was a humongous task, but then they said, let's just take their custom, but make it Christian. So they took everything that they had for their cult of the dead, but Christianize it. That is why the Day of the Dead is celebrated in Mexico very differently to any other parts of the Catholic world.
The combining of traditions did bring change. The natives' month-long celebration was shortened.
They said, no, it's going to be only one day, which is the official day of the church, the 2nd of November.
The shift to Christianity occurred in very troubling times, and it was difficult for both sides. A miracle was needed.
Then something happened, the event of Guadalupe. Guadalupe appearing as an Indian woman, she was probably the most important or central element of evangelization and accepting Christianity in the New World.
So important that to this day, you'll find her placed atop most altars during Day of the Dead.
Okay, now welcome back. So we've been talking about this. Kiddos have some time to go out and trick or treat, and our Mia Montgomery is going to get them all ready. And you're saying rush out the door now, right?
Hey, now that the sun's going down, at least temperatures are going to start to fall as well. This afternoon, it was just incredibly hot, and I've had a couple of people message me, so I feel like we need to just go ahead and let the cat out of the bag.
Give the people what they want.
These are the shoes that we were referring to.
The Beetlejuice shoes.
They're just Beetlejuice shoes. They're fun. You've got to make it fun on Halloween. Right now, I just have to get my shoe back on. See if we can do it. We did it. Okay, let's talk about October in general, though, before we dive back into the trick-or-treat forecast. If you thought this month was unseasonably warm, you are exactly right. So far up to yesterday, our average temperature in San Antonio for the month of October was 78.4 degrees. That officially makes this October the hottest that we've also seen on record. And with us breaking the existing record high for the day, we won't have a problem keeping that classification when we factor in all of today's temperatures as well. Now, right now, after that high temperature of 90 degrees in San Antonio earlier this afternoon, we're starting to see those temperatures fall a little bit more. We're in the mid 80s for the most part here in Bexar County. Parts of the Hill Country for places like Bernie, Comfort, Kerrville, even over near Tarpley, Bulverde as well, have already managed to see those temperatures fall into the 70s. We have mostly clear skies in place right now here in the Alamo City, so we should continue to see those temperatures fall. 83 degrees expected by the top of the 7 p.m. hour officially here in town. Then we'll start to see those temperatures fall into the 70s for us here in Bexar County, with just that 10% chance for a stray shower in the forecast this evening. You can see that's not going to be a problem for most of us. We will stay dry. We were monitoring a few isolated showers east of Cuero. Those have fizzled out. Potentially, though, a little shower southeast of Gonzales and between Gonzales as well as Hallettsville, and a few more south of Pleasanton, closer to Live Oak County. So we'll continue to keep tabs on that, but I don't really anticipate it being an issue for trick-or-treaters this evening, just those warm and muggy conditions. But as we sleep through the overnight hours, it's possible that we see a few isolated light showers develop by 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, especially if you're south of San Antonio, south of the Highway 90 and I-10 corridors tomorrow morning. We could see a few isolated showers for the morning commute, but then after that, closer to town, we'll keep that 30% chance going, especially after about 2 p.m. A few isolated showers to a stray downpour can't completely be ruled out, and that will continue into Friday evening as well as Friday night. Overall, though, coverage does look to be pretty limited, and that will continue into the weekend. A 20% chance in the forecast both Saturday and into Sunday, but then a slightly better chance as we head into Monday. We see that next cold front push through by Monday evening. We could catch the tail end of a broken line of showers and storms before some cooler weather starts to finally return to parts of south central Texas as well. We will take any rain that we can get at this point. On Tuesday, we ended the consecutive stretch of dry days, no measurable rainfall here in San Antonio. It officially topped out at 53 days. That's the 4th longest stretch of dry days we've seen in San Antonio, the record being 63. That was set back in 1993. That has also been reflected in the drought monitor that we've seen over the past several weeks. This was last week's update, and I want you to pay attention to this orange and red color. I'm going to go ahead and fade on this week's update. You see how drought continues to expand. Now we have extreme drought in place closer to Austin, San Marcos, near the I-35 corridor, and even severe drought now in place across a good chunk of the coastal plains near Hallettsville, Cuero, Gonzales, as well as Floresville. So fingers crossed for these rain chances that we have in the forecast over the next 7 days. Again, that cooler weather on the way, especially by election day. We're talking high temperatures back in the 70s and lows in the 50s and 60s. A very nice change of pace considering we're about to move into November.
This is true. Thank you.
We'll be right back. The Buzz is next.
In honor of the day of the holiday, we got to talk about this. Look at that, a spooky discovery made inside of an old Tudor house in England just in time for Halloween. An array of carvings, you see them there, called witches' marks, were found on the walls inside of that home in Lincolnshire.
The marks, dating back to the year 1596, are believed to be a ritual aimed to fend off evil spirits and witches. The marks are usually found carved into stone or wood, usually near entrances, doors, windows, and fireplaces.
I wonder who found it, right? If they were just like pulling up carpet or something and went, whoa, what's that? So right here, Colorado police body cam did not miss that strange sight. People called 911. Do you see it right there in the middle of your screen? You're about to. People were confused by a swaddled kangaroo that was on the loose. The caller said, quote, there is like a baby kangaroo with a diaper on wandering around Main Street.
Responding officers couldn't help but laugh and eventually rounded up the pet Joey, returned it to the owner, Pampers and all.
And that was my millennial impression.
I like that. This
a
is pretty
baby
accurate. Like, yeah.
Okay. We'll be right back. We hope that you and your family have a happy and a healthy Halloween. Thank you so much for being with us.
Enjoy the trick-or-treating.
See you on the night beat.